We have with us today Dr. Pallavi Sharma Goyal ma'am for our lecture. She completed her PhD on William Shakespeare. She has published two papers in international journals and 20 more than 20 papers in national journals. And she is currently an assistant professor at SMS PG College, Shivpuri, NP. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Atila. It's nice to be here again.
Thank you, ma'am.
Shall I start?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, today we will start our lecture. The lecture is on the Elizabethan age. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I hope my voice is audible here.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Okay. So, today's lecture is on the Elizabethan age. And we will discuss about the basic features of this age, how it started, and what are the qualities or what are the specific characteristics of the Elizabethan age. Because in itself, Elizabethan age has a vast canvas to cover. There are so many important writers like William Shakespeare, Christopher Marlowe, and Francis Bacon, and many others. So we can't discuss in 1 hour about all these writers, but we will try to focus on the salient characteristics of the Elizabethan age. So I would like to start. How the Elizabethan age started? So as you all know, because you all are the aspirants of English literature, so as you all know that the history of English literature, it was started in the 5th and 6th centuries. Means the record of the opening of or the starting of the English literature's history is documented from the 5th and 6th centuries. And when there were three tribes, the Teutonic tribes, the Angles tribes, and the Saxons and the Jutes. And what they did, they gave up their old seats in the peninsula of Denmark and Scotland in the Roman province of Britannia. Okay? It means that where they were ruling earlier, they quit that place, and in the 5th and 6th century, they entered in Britannia, and at that time, Britannia was under the rule of Romans. Romans were ruling at that time. Okay. So, this was the beginning of the English literature's history. Then what happened from here means from the 5th and 6th century up to 10th and 11th century, the evolution of English literature started, and it was going on continuously. And from here the journey commenced, and in the 14th century we can have the glimpses of the genuine English literature that came into existence. And we know precisely about Geoffrey Chaucer, who belonged to 14th century English literature, and he has been considered as the father of English literature and as the father of English poetry as well. So from the beginning, from the 5th and 6th centuries up to 10th and 11th centuries, and after, and when we enter in 14th century, we have found the genuine notes on English literature when Geoffrey Chaucer was found as the father of English literature and the father of English poetry as well. So from here the journey commenced. Then what happened? As we know that there are so many streams of literature. The streams are like poetry, prose, and drama. To till this time, means till the age of Chaucer, only three main streams. I have written extremes. It is streams. Streams of literature were there. They are poetry, prose, and drama. Mainly, basically, novel was not there in the very beginning of the English literature. Then what happened? From here, we entered into the age of Shakespeare or the age of Elizabeth. Okay, so when we enter into the age of Shakespeare or into the age of Elizabeth, what happened? That all our development in all streams started very enthusiastically. And the age of Elizabeth lasted from 1550 to 1630 and is also known as the revival of learning or the age of Renaissance. Okay, so what happened simultaneously that before Chaucer there was 5th and 6th century, and after Chaucer there was age of Elizabeth and age of Shakespeare, we can also say about it. Then who was the person who first coined the term Renaissance, the age of Elizabeth or the age of Shakespeare, also called as the age of Renaissance? So what happened that there was the French historian and his name was Jules Michel, who published Histoire de France in 1855, and he seems to have first used the term Renaissance. Means it has been considered as that the term Renaissance was introduced by the French historian Jules Michel, and he published Histoire de France in 1855. Okay, and how the English Renaissance started? The English Renaissance began with the accession of King Henry VII to the English throne in 1485. Okay, so what we are able to see here that in the 15th century the English literature, the Elizabethan age was started, or the age of Renaissance started. But as a movement affecting the lives of the Europeans, the Renaissance, it already started in Italy almost 2 centuries earlier, and the two most famous names associated with its beginnings are Petrarch and Boccaccio. I hope you have already heard about the names of these Italian Renaissance people, Petrarch and Boccaccio. So basically the age of Renaissance started in Italy already much before, or we can say 2 centuries before earlier, than in comparison to the English literature of Elizabethan age. Okay, and from Italy what happened? The movement spread through Germany, Spain, France, the Netherlands and England. So gradually it came. It started from France and from Italy, and gradually it entered into Germany, then Spain, then France, then Netherlands, and after that England. And how the the revolution started, the Elizabethan age or the Renaissance started. From Italy, the movement spread through Germany, Spain, France, the Netherlands and England, as I have told you earlier. And there is one important fact also it has been associated with this, is that it may have been aided by the fall of Constantinople to the Turks in 1453 and the consequent movement into Italy of Greek scholars bearing their long preserved classical manuscripts, although the study of Greeks had begun in Western Europe sometimes earlier. So what does it mean? It means that the entry of Renaissance in the history of English literature was also affected by the fall of Constantinople in the year 1453. So what happened in the year 1453? Turks invaded Constantinople and eventually it turned into ashes. And what happened because of the invasion of the Turks in 1453 on Constantinople? Various scholars or various intelligibilia of those areas, they moved into Italy. Okay, and with them they took their literature also, they took their manuscripts also, and they came into Western Europe. They settled into Western Europe. So it means that revival of English literature, or that the revival of Renaissance, that was started in Italy and it gradually entered into various countries. It was also affected by the fall of Constantinople in the year 1453, when Turks invaded Constantinople. And during that, and after that attack, or after that invasion, the people who were having their literature, they left their place. They left their place in Constantinople, and they took their manuscripts, their precious, valuable manuscripts of literature, along with them, and they settled in the Western Europe of globe. Okay, so I hope it is clear. Then, yes, is it clear to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So after that, what happened? That now we can discuss about the dawn of Renaissance in England and how it came into peak. कैसे ये बिल्कुल पीक पर आया, कैसे एकदम से बढ़ गया, ऊपर आया. So what was the most significant event? The most important event that marked the dawn of the Renaissance in England was the European invasion of printing by movable type. So, my dear students, what happened earlier, that in the 5th and 6th century, the literature was not written. It was only vocal literature. The people of 5th and 6th centuries of England or of other parts of the country, what they did, they made poems on the bravery of the soldiers, because that time the globe was affected by various wars, various battles. So after completing each battle, so many people, they died in the battle, and so many people, they returned to their own land, and they started writing lines or poems in the appreciation of those dead soldiers, or even about those soldiers who came alive, and returned to their own country with their chivalrous attitude. And okay, so what happened, that whatever the literature was, it was only vocal, it was not written. And gradually, when we reached into 10th or 11th century, gradually the manuscripts started coming in written form, but it was very rare. The output of the literature was very scanty, it was very rare. So how it came in domain very dominantly in the year 1476, when in England there was a person, and his name was William Caxton, and he was the first person who introduced a printing press in England in 1476, and his name is also associated as the first English retailer of printed books. So those manuscripts that were very scanty, that were very rare, they started coming in in abundance after the foundation of printing press in England by William Caxton. Okay, so gradually, because of gradually the literature became very powerful to influence the people of the country. Okay, and because of the influence of literature, the age of Elizabeth, or the age of William Shakespeare, or the age of revival, or the age of learning, all these are the names of the same ages. In this time, in the age of Queen Elizabeth, there was an overall development in each and every field. And that's why it has been called as the age of learning, or as the age of enlightenment, or the age of Renaissance also. Okay. So after that, when when the literature was in abundance, the Renaissance was stimulated by the revival of learning and diffused by the art of painting. Okay. And what happened? The Renaissance, the Renaissance was at its peak. Okay, then what were the outcomes? The ingredients produced by the new spirit of the Renaissance. These following are the ingredients, means these were the results, these were the outcomes of the Elizabethan age or the age of Renaissance. And these outcomes came because of the new spirit of the Renaissance. The very first point is the growing interest in the classical environment. People became very keen, they became very eager to learn the classics from all around the world, from across the world. Means they had their keen interest in Greek literature, they had their keen interest in you know Italian literature, and in French literature also. And basically, because there were the literature was not in abundance before Renaissance or before Elizabethan age, so whatever the outcome was, that outcome was classical. So the growing interest in the classical environment is one of the basic feature, one of the basic outcome of the Renaissance spirit. Then what was the second point? The growth of trade and commerce with the power of countries and the rush for gold. Until Elizabethan age, people were not so much aware, or people were not so much interested in materialistic things. They were, but they were not too keen. They were not too eager, because the most of the time of their lives they had to spend in the wars, in the in the fights, in the battlefields, and so the basic needs to survive, those needs were very very tempting. Those needs were very those needs were very in priority for those people, because most of the time they were involved in battles. But after the coming of Queen Elizabeth on the reign of England, a kind of contentment or settlement appeared. Okay, and when the contentment and settlement come in the or arrive in the life of any person or in the life of any nation, the progress starts to happen. Okay, so same thing happened with the people belong to Elizabethan age. The growth of trade and commerce, they were very keen in commerce, in trade, and with the power of countries and the rush for gold. And here I would like to mention one more point, that during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I, English merchants, they came India for trade. Okay, so this is also the important point. Then what is the third point? Third point is a series of extensive voyages and explorations by the Dutch, the Spanish, the French, and the English. Because people were very keen, okay, this is our land, but what is happening outside our land? They were very keen to focus on those qualities. So what they did, they started voyages across the seas. In the same time, Vasco da Gama, when we read the history of world history, when we read the world history, we had the references of Vasco da Gama and Columbus and other people who used to travel through sea. Okay, so so many explorations started during the time of Queen Elizabeth or in the age of Renaissance by Dutch people, by Spanish people, by French people, and ultimately by the English people. Then what the next point is, the growing interest in the affairs of day-to-day life and the rise of ferocious nationalism and the new spirit of individualism. So what does it mean? Means because now they are settled, and because there are so many works apart from war, apart from fight, they thought that these things are too much important for us. So a keen interest in the daily life affairs developed. Okay, and people became so much aware about their nationality, and they become very ferocious, very enthusiastic, and very dominating regarding the concept of nationalism. And because of all these features, a new concept of individualism also came into light. The new spirit of individualism. The new spirit of individualism, it means that people were very keen, or people were very eager to their individual rights and duties. Okay, so this is one of the main points of the outcomes or of the ingredients of the Renaissance spirit. People became very individualistic in their approach. Okay, so these are the main outputs. And what the English people they did, what they did, the English, because they were great explorers. So what they did, they went to the West Indies, they went to the down the coast of South America, and with that return, they returned with their ships. They returned with their ships, and their ships were loaded with bars of silvers and gold, heaps of pearls, sapphires, opals, and green emeralds, shining silks, fragrant spices. Means the people who were keenly interested in voyages, they when they returned to their native land, or when they returned to their native country, they returned with their ships loaded with bars of silver, gold, pearls, sapphires, opals, and green emeralds. And this thing happened mainly with the English people, with England people, with the people associated with England. Okay, and all these reflections were present in the poetry or in the writings of their literature, all these things. Okay, and what happened, what was the next step? The next step was, when those people who returned after the voyages to their own country, they told tales of various countries associated with them. So the people, the local people, the local English people, what they did, they were quite, they were awestruck. They were awestruck, and they listened to travelers' tales, such as those with which Othello won the heart of Desdemona. Why I am saying this tale, Othello and Desdemona? I am saying this. I am giving the reference of this play, because after the portrayal of Othello's visit by Othello himself before Desdemona, it won the heart of Desdemona. Okay, so that spirit that was present in general atmosphere, that spirit was also delineated in the writers, or in the main writers, and as we find references in Othello of William Shakespeare. Okay, so what happened? They listened to travelers' tales, such as those with which Othello won the heart of Desdemona. And what happened? And as they listened to their tales, and as they gazed at the incredible plunder of the new world, their imaginations became, flamed. And everywhere was a strange breath of wonder, which found its expression in the literature. Okay, so because अपन हिंदी में कहते हैं कि उनकी आंखें चौंधी आ गई, तो same thing happened with English people. When the merchants, they returned after their voyages to their homeland, they returned with a lot of gold, silver, and all such things, and the localites became awestruck. And such reflections were present in the writings of English literature also, as I have already mentioned, by giving the reference of Othello, which was written by William Shakespeare. Okay, and one significant event also happened, and what is that? That after the defeat of the Spanish Armada by the English, the national spirit in England rose to delirious heights of self-confidence comparable to the exaltation of Greece after Salamis. Why I am saying this? That Salami is the name of the island. Okay, and earlier what happened, that the Greek people, they they took hold on that island, and from that time still the Salami island is in the control of Greek people. Okay, or in the people of Athens. Okay, so the same exaltation or the same jubilant spirit that the Greeks felt after the control of Salami Island. The same spirit developed by the same spirit developed in the English people after the defeat of the Spanish Armada. And after that defeat, there was a writer, George Chapman, and George Chapman wrote in the praise of in the praise of his own homeland. He wrote, "O child, honor's muse, sing in my voice, riches and conquest and renown I sing." Means he said, "Oh child," means, "Oh the people of England, my dear child, the natives of England, honor's muse, you are the honor. Anna, honor to this country, and I want that you should all sing with me in my voice. Riches and conquest and renown I sing, because I have found myself, or I can sing, or I can appreciate the achievements of our country as they have returned with the riches, and as they have returned after getting victorious, after being victorious. So I appreciate the such jubilant spirit of this Renaissance, or of the age of Queen Elizabeth, or the age of classical learning, or the age of enlightenment." Okay, so same thing happened. So these are the various outputs of the Renaissance age. Then what happened? We have discussed about it earlier, that the Renaissance gave birth to individualism and worldliness. These were the same ingredients in the classical Greek literature which attracted the men of Renaissance. Means these points, then the point of individualism and the point of worldliness, these are the same points that were present in the Greek Renaissance age. Okay, so and who were the Greek people? Ancient Greek people, they were mostly worldly people. That because their whole life and their hope, it was centered on this present world rather than on some future world. Look, we can understand this thing, that the Greek people, they focused mainly on the contemporary time, on their contemporary time, or on the then contemporary time. Means they were not worried about their histories, and they were not worried about their future. Okay, they were totally focused on the present time. So to focus on present time is also one of the specific characteristic of the Renaissance age. Okay. And because the people's approach turned as individualism, so what happened? The English people, what English people did English people, they didn't pay attention on the authority. Means whatsoever the rules and regulations, they became very rebellious sort of people. The English people, they became very rebellious sort of people, and they were free in making their own decisions. They took their decisions, they took their own decision according to their own thinking, or according to their own way. And because of this thinking, what happened? The freedom that they have found to narrate, it was present in the writings of Christopher Marlowe. Okay, so this writing was in the writing of Christopher Marlowe, and with the limitation of the church, what happened? Elizabethan intellectual people, Elizabethan literary people, they became very prominent. They became very, dominant in their fields, and they wished to do whatever they wished. Okay, वो करना चाहते थे, वो जो भी वो कुछ करना चाहते थे, they did whatever they wished to do. And that's why what happened, a sort of rebellious instinct also came into existence, as we have found in the writings of Christopher Marlowe, and the sudden demise of Christopher Marlowe. For the new students of English literature, I would like to present a fact before all of you, that Christopher Marlowe, he also belonged to Elizabethan age, and he wrote so many important plays like Dr. Faustus, Edward II, Richard II, and in these writings he delineated kings as being deposed and murdered, and deposed and murdered means he did not present the character of those kings and the people belong to higher field with very grace or with very soberness. Instead, he represented them as being deposed and murdered by the common man. And along with Christopher Marlowe, there was a person, Sir Walter Raleigh. He was also considered a politically dangerous person, and both these people, especially Christopher Marlowe and Walter Raleigh, there is a historic reference that they were murdered in a country pub. So this was the result of the anarchic sort of thinking. Means, okay, you should have individualism or worldliness and whatever the chief qualities of Elizabethan age, but you must follow the feeling of nationalism, that yes, whatever you do, you are free to do everything, but you must not do if but you must not do anything that can defame your country. Okay, so these references were also present in the age of Queen Elizabeth or in the age of Renaissance. Why this thing happened? Because Queen Elizabeth, she had not forgotten the Wars of the Roses. The Wars of the Roses, there was 100 years of war between England and France happened. Okay, and she knew Queen Elizabeth knew the consequences of such type of war. What sort of it could deteriorate. It can deteriorate your financial capabilities. It can deteriorate or your physical system, the system of trade and commerce, the system of good living life, the system of education, and whatever it is that those systems that have been associated with the regular mode of life. So she knew such thing, and that's why it has been said. We don't have authentic proof of that, but here we are discussing only those things that I have or you read in the books of English literature or in other sorts of things. Okay, so based on those facts, based on those readings, this is the fact that Queen Elizabeth was involved in it, as it has been said in the book. This is not my point. Okay, now the next thing is because the next thing is because people went for voyages, they returned with heaps of gold and whatever it is. So all these elements entered into the books, also entered into the literature also. So it was supposed for the common people that they should be able to fence, to write, to read Latin and Greek. Okay, they must be able to organize the seas of the city or to write a graceful sonnet to a lady. Means because of the outer reflections, same things introduced into the writings also, and not only in writings but also in the day-to-day life of the people. Okay, so it means that worldliness, whatever the worldliness was there, it was connected with all-round development in all streams of the English people, and that hunger for riches, that hunger for intellect, that hunger for a war, that hunger for money, that hunger for good leading life, all such reflections are present in the writings of the Elizabethan age. Okay, so in such cases we can cite the plays of Marlowe, Christopher Marlowe. We have Francis Bacon, the prose of Francis Bacon, the poetry of Spenser. Means all such things are the best expressions of the worldliness that was present in the Elizabethan age. Okay, so these are the basic features. Now English Renaissance literature, we can divide English Renaissance literature in 4 periods. The first period is the period of preparation. The period of preparation is between 1500 to 79. You can write it down, or I will share the word file here in the group. The period of preparation, the span of this period of preparation is 1500 to 79, and this period is called as the youth of Renaissance. The second period, the Elizabethan period. The Elizabethan period from 1579 to 1602. This period has been hailed as the manhood of Renaissance. This is called the manhood of Renaissance. Then the third one is the Jacobean period. Jacobean, when we study history of English literature, we can start from the age of Normans, from the age of Saxons, and then from the age of Chaucer or the 14th century English literature, then the 15th century English literature, then we have Jacobean age, the Caroline age, and gradually Romantic age, Reformation age, and all such periods come time to time, one by one. But for our to describe Elizabethan age, we must study that how it was started, when it was in peak, and how it gradually, turned into ashes. Okay, so the middle age of English Renaissance we can hail this middle age of English Renaissance between 1603 to 1625, and it has been known as the Jacobean period. Okay, then the next one is the Caroline period. The Caroline period is between 1620 to 1660, and this Caroline period has been addressed as the old age of Renaissance. Sorry. So whatever the Renaissance spirit that appeared in the Elizabethan literature, it was marked by fullness of national life, a passion for knowledge, a spirit of daring adventures, and an ambition to achieve great things. Okay, so all such things happened in this way. Now the next thing, how this Renaissance spirit, affected the people. Okay, so first thing is we have discussed that the humanistic approach was there, means the rediscovery and reinterpretation of antiquity. It gave birth to a new culture, that of humanism. Means the humanism, आजकल भी हम कहते हैं मानवाधिकार, मानवाधिकारों की बात होती है बार बार. So this मानवाधिकार was first introduced in the age of Queen Elizabeth, and it was called as humanism, because the people rediscovered and reinterpreted the antique things or their antiquity. Okay, and this humanism, this mode of humanism, it was led by Erasmus. The name is Erasmus, Erasmus, and he began to take interest in life and in mankind. Okay, so in this way, the humanism is one of the other important aspect of Elizabethan age. Then the next thing was the Reformation. Generally we read all these ages differently, as I have told you earlier, the Chaucer age and age of Queen Elizabeth, or age of Shakespeare, Jacobean age, Caroline age, Reformation age, Restoration age. But the Elizabethan age has been considered as one of the most significant ages of English literature, and has so many periods. So the Reformation was also started in the same age. So the Reformation, it was started in the time of Henry VIII. Okay, Henry VIII, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. So Henry VIII, he reached its culmination during the Elizabethan age, and earlier there was a tutelage of Roman authority, and Spenser presented the best traits of Reformation in his Fairy Queen. We have we do know the poem of Spenser, the Fairy Queen. Okay, so in the Fairy Queen, there is the spirit of Reformation. In the writings of Erasmus, the humanistic approach was there. In the writings of Spenser, the reformative spirits were there. Then, as I told you earlier, that the defeat of Spanish Armada, it also brought about the revival of nationalism and patriotic feelings. Then the next thing was settlement. People in politics, in religion, the English nation was attaining to a state of stability. They were attaining to the state of stability, and that's why the union of the crowns finally sat at rest. The ancient quarrel between Scotland and England. There were so many years that England and Scotland, they were in fight. Okay, so in the reign of Queen Elizabeth, this also came to a settlement, and in religion also, there was the spirit of toleration. Because, and the main credit goes to this settlement to the Queen Elizabeth's influence. Okay, and the minds of the people, it was freed from religious fears and persecutions, turned with great enthusiasm. Then the next thing was, it was an age of social contentment. It was an age of comparative social contentment, in a strong contrast with the earlier days. Okay, and the next thing was an age of material advancement. Means in material surrounding and comforts too, there were great changes and improvements taking place, as I told you earlier about trade and commerce. And what about the literary tendencies? Revival of interest in Greek literature. I told you so many Greek literature, so many books of Greek literature or belong to Greek literature. They were translated into English or into Middle English, we can say. There was an abundance of output, and the feeling of new romanticism also pervaded across England. Okay, the feeling of new romanticism. Then there were translations. Then the spirit of independence. There was the development of drama. This is also one of the more important features of the Elizabethan spirit. That during the Elizabethan age, drama made a swift and wonderful leap into maturity, and because there were theaters also. So because of those theaters, the drama reached a splendid consummation in the hands of William Shakespeare and Ben Jonson. We can also name Ben Jonson also. And in the concluding part of the age, particularly during the Jacobean period, suddenly there was a decline in dramatic standards. Then the popularity of poetry. Poetry means, you can say, poetry enjoyed its heyday during the Elizabethan age. The whole age lived in a state of poetic fervor. Means there were songs, there were lyrics, there were sonnets, and all these form of poetries, they were produced in plenty. We can say that England became a nest of singing birds. And eventually and gradually, for the first time, prose rose to the position of first-rate importance. As I told you earlier, that during the 5th and 6th century, only poems came into existence. After some time, there were scanty examples of dramas, and but in the reign of Queen Elizabeth, or in the age of Renaissance, prose and novel also. Prose and novel also, they introduced, or they rose to the position of first-rate importance. Means even the development of political drama between, we know about 1579, 1629. It is hardly more extraordinary than the sudden expansion of English prose. Means the restoration that happened, or the political drama, I'm not saying restoration, the political drama that happened between 1579 and 1629, it was not considered, or it is not considered as the more important thing than the appearance of the prose in the literary stream. Okay, and gradually, because English people, they were ruling across the globe, so the language English became most important in this age. So all such are the various qualities or various characteristics of the Elizabethan age. as I was told to speak on only on Elizabethan age. So these are my conclusions, and I hope the students whosoever are associated with this, I hope it will benefit you. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for your presence and participation in today's meeting. Your input and engagement are greatly appreciated. A special thanks to Pallavi Sharma Goyal ma'am of specific contributors for their valuable insights. We really have understood the topic of the Elizabethan age. I would like to express my gratitude to the Department of English for organizing such a wonderful lecture. And I also would like to express my gratitude to the HOD of our department. And thanks to all the participants for joining the lecture.